Hello Snackadoodles, welcome back-a-doodles. Today's stories are the rarest of topics on the internet.
Wedding drama.
Ooh, that was disgustingly off-key. Anyway, let's get into our first of the stories. Starting things off a little bit differently to your typical wedding story, it's not the bride or the groom who's the typical a-hole. Bad dress here thinking this was a great idea. ATAR for wearing a different colored bridesmaid dress after the bride tried to purposefully make us look unflattering. Yeah, you know that outfit that bride spent hundreds of dollars to tailor for you? Yeah, just throw it in the trash. You just get another one.
Recently, I, a 28 female, was a bridesmaid in my friend Tara's and Tony's wedding, 28 female, 30 male, along with bridesmaids Amy, Jane, and our sister Lily. Tara was one of those brides where everything had to be perfect. So early on, Tara placed her priority on the logistics. Because of this, Tara had left the details about the bridesmaid dresses for last.
These people are planning their wedding? How horrible!
Tara had organized a lunch for us in April to talk over the details of the dresses. She handed out swatches and said that the dresses must be in that color and floor length. I asked Tara if she was being serious, to which Tara asked what the problem was. And simply put, the color was ugly and unflattering. Jane also spoke up and said that this color is going to make everyone in the party look bad. Amy also agreed. Tara rolled her eyes at us and said that she was sure, and she expected us as bridesmaids to go along with what she wanted. Lily decided to chime in and say that she thought the color was fine. I think that she did this to prevent her younger sister from going full Bridezilla. For months, Amy, Jane, and I begged Tara to consider a different color, but she wouldn't budge. We asked Lily to ask her sister to reconsider, but she said that she was the bride and that we should respect her choices. Like, yeah, no Schmidt, she was the bride, but that doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice the way we look and look unattractive. Amy pointed out that Tara was probably making us look bad on purpose so that she could look better, and that made me furious.
There is an enormous degree of justification you could have given that would, I feel, brought more people on your side. Like, yeah, you want to look nice and you think the colors don't work, they clash. Okay, yeah. Though art and creativity is subjective, there is the, a common sense or a common census in that degree. But I don't know if I'm alone in noticing this, but do we see how all of this justification is purely based on whether or not you are attractive and you are, like, looking better or just as good as the bride? The person the wedding is all about? Let's continue.
And here's where I may be in the wrong. Amy, Jane, and I decided that enough was enough, and that Tara was being really unreasonable about this whole thing, and so is Lily. So we decided to lie to Tara and say that we were going to order dresses in the color she wanted and sent her screenshots of dresses in that color. Meanwhile, the three of us created a separate group chat and decided to order dresses that would actually make us look good. We agreed on baby blue and bought the dresses online. Tara didn't ask any more questions about the dresses and essentially just took our word that everything was okay.
Okay, for reference, let's just look up the color baby blue just to see exactly what degree we're looking at. That's that's a rather white-looking blue you've got there, isn't it? Badfinger, no, get out of here. No one's asking for you.
Flash forward to the wedding day. The moment we put on our dresses, Tara lost her mind. She started yelling at us and crying, and Lily had to escort her out of the room. Apparently, she must have gotten ready elsewhere, because we didn't see her up until we were called to go to the venue for the ceremony. The wedding was great, but Tara was upset. Since the wedding, none of us have heard from Tara. However, Lily and Tony have been texting me, calling us horrible people and claiming we ruined the wedding. Tony even said that Tara almost canceled the whole thing, and he had to force her to go through with it. Maybe Tara was upset that we didn't get the color that she asked for, but I don't think it was right for her to make us look unattractive. Am I the a-hole?
Now, as a human being with a PP, I've never really come across this dilemma myself about feeling I look ugly in stuff that someone's thrown onto me. I mean, okay, look, yes, but I wouldn't go to the degree of changing things behind their back, especially when they are basically paying me to be there in a way. But I also know in some weddings, the bridesmaids do actually pay for a lot of things themselves, so let's assume that is the case. They had to pay for the dresses themselves. The bridesmaid position is more so just an honor of volunteering of sorts. What these women get out of it is that they get to be bridesmaids. So do you think in that regard that justifies them getting to wear something that's at least more flattering to them? And if that's the case, do you think maybe they should have at least confronted Tara a bit more strongly about it? Some people wonder if she cared one bit about other people's feelings, supposedly her friends, she would make this small change. Does the color of the dress really matter more than the comfort of the bridesmaids? I'd say they all suck, including the bridesmaids. Again, others bringing up what I thought of earlier. Depending on who paid for them, I feel really sways the judgment here. But we have some modest opinions like this.
Hope someone shows up to your wedding in a wedding dress.
No, ultimately there's the belief that, yeah, if you were so against the color, you should have just declined being a bridesmaid instead of lying and leading her on this entire time. I mean, come on, an ultimatum would have been better. It's almost as if you were more so enjoying the sneakiness you were doing than actually wanting to support your friend and having a great special day. Like you knew that by choosing the baby blue, the color you liked, that you knew you'd look better in. Well, the bride wouldn't like that color. And I can't let the bride decide what I should wear because she wants me to be unattractive and I want to be attractive. I want to be more attractive than her. But, ooh, just as I was about to consider the fact that, hey, maybe their Bridezilla kind of brought this upon them, well, over in a different subreddit, an eerily similar story was posted. This one coming from a bride's point of view. Call it coincidence, possibly evidence of fake online drama trying to be created for someone's own karma farming, but either way, a day after that post being made, these are all posted about maybe within the span of 3 days, this alleged bride OP comes back with an update about their little situation and all the comments they're seeing and learning that there is a post that is eerily similar to their experience, to which they were guided to said post we read before and decided to leave this little comment for the a-hole friends to indulge in. This is Tara. I came on Reddit with my own post talking about how 3 of my friends ruined my big day. Little did I know, one of my bridesmaids ran to Reddit before me. Someone was kind enough to give me the link to your post, the other side of the story. I spent hours debating whether or not I should respond, or if I should just message you. But considering I haven't answered any of your attempts to contact me, that wouldn't make any sense for me to do, so let me just post this publicly. To clear things up with everyone, my post was taken down, but just to summarize, my wedding was fall themed, so think orange-brown color palette. No, I wasn't trying to make anyone look bad. I just freaking like fall. It's my favorite season. There was no master conspiracy to make my bridesmaids look bad. They were the ones with the plan to embarrass me. I would have never pulled a stunt like that with anyone, let alone people that I cared about. It's clear that my friends didn't care about me enough to go with my wishes, which was literally a dress color, and then they show up with a color that was a complete 180 of what I had asked for. You guys should have told me you hated me. That way I would have just stuck with my sister. So yeah, that's the tea with that tale. I don't think it's really necessary to get our thoughts on it because it's pretty well resolved. So let's move on to the next one. Over to another ATAR, where the first sentence just, damn, they go hard as straight into that edgelord energy. Am I the a-hole for wearing bold, expressive makeup to my sister's wedding? Not going to get into really big details, but I, 29, am gay and my family is religious and have basically disowned me, except for my sister, 24, who has always been accepting of me since the beginning. I like to express myself through the way I present myself. Bold makeup, bold clothing, etc. And recently, my little sister had her marriage ceremony. Our family did not like the thought of me showing up to the wedding, but my sister said I had to be there. And since she was the one calling the shots, she invited me anyway. She asked me to tone down on the colorful makeup and clothing, and she said that I could still do my bold makeup style, just use neutral colors, since the theme of her wedding was red wine and beige. I was accepting of these rules, but sad. Since my sister was all about me expressing myself, and I thought she would let me show up to her wedding in my regular clothes. But I told my partner, and they said I should express myself. So that's what I did.
My sister is telling me there's a dress code to her wedding.
Hey, partner of mine, you have no valid opinion in this situation, technically. What do you think?
Express yourself.
Well, it's not your wedding, so I guess you're right. Oh my god, how do they justify themselves with these thoughts? I showed up to the wedding in colorful, bold makeup, platform demonias, chains, and a dress that did not suit the color themes of the wedding. My sister seemed upset, but didn't say anything. Then her husband came up and told me to leave. I argued with him, and soon it became a huge scene. Everyone left early because of it, and my sister won't pick up my calls. Am I the a-hole? By the way, for reference, platform demonias. Not exactly the kind of gear you'd wear to a formal wedding setting. Maybe to a club. Hell, maybe the wedding was at a club. We don't know. Okay, no, wait, scratch that. That is absolutely, that right there. That's, zoom up. That right there. Absolutely wedding attire. Yeah, that's how I'm walking down the aisle. I don't give off red flags. I give off red boots. Now, curiously, what did the outfit look like? Well, probably pretty ugly if platform demonias were involved. Oh, ouch! Yeah, are you sure you got disowned for being gay and not for always wanting to be the main character? Now, to be fair, we're really judging this person over one escaping moment in their life. But in our defense, it's not like they're doing a really good job at, representing themselves as being a true victim versus having a lifestyle the family genuinely did tolerate and was fine with, but they just, kept making things all about them. Like, yes, being able to express yourself and authentically is a beautiful thing. However, you were explicitly asked to tone it down by the bride or use the color palette of the wedding. Today's word of the day, children, is
Color palette.
yes, your intention wasn't to show up your sister on her wedding day, but it's clearly how it was interpreted and received. Let's simplify this. Rules for weddings. 1. Don't outshine the bride. 2. See Rule 1. So this is a story that's been updated as recently as July this year, but it all began 10 months ago. A fun experience of when someone says, I support women, unless they're not me. My 28-year-old wife held a talent show at our wedding reception. Her friend, who sang, networked with a guest there who wants to potentially work with her. My wife has become bitter since. I'm a 28 male, and I knew her since college, and I'll get that out of the way first. The past few days have shown a different side of her that's a little surprising because Kate is her best friend from college. My wife, Nancy, wanted to do a mini talent show at our reception, and she talked it up beforehand too. She read a poem that she made for the event, and Kate performed a song that she wrote. Long story short, one of the guests who I invited is into producing, and he reached out to her after she performed. They exchanged information, and Kate was really excited. He wanted to network with her following the reception, and she even thanked my wife for hosting the talent show over text. But Nancy became really bitter about it, and that's why I'm writing this. She hasn't responded to Kate's message, and she said she regretted to doing the talent show too. She also asked me to block Edward, the producer, on my socials and contacts, and I told her that seemed a bit much. She didn't like my answer though, and said that I was wrong to not take my side after just getting married. But I told her that she should be happy for her friend. Well, she didn't like that either, and vented to some in our friend group about how Kate was bragging, but some of them disagreed. So my wife said she didn't want to hang out with them for the time being, and that included me too. Two of her girlfriends even texted me that she was overreacting and that they were also surprised to see her act that way. They also asked if she was okay too. My dad is suggesting counseling and said that asking me to remove friends is an unhealthy way to start a marriage, and honestly, I'm more than a little scared. I asked if she'd be open to counseling, but she said there was no need, because Kate was my friend first, and I shouldn't choose Kate over me. I just want to ask what to do next, since she refused counseling and sees no issues with cutting off our friends. So the story starts off pretty simple. Nancy is jealous of her friend's attention at her own wedding, and the husband at this point is just desperate to know how he can approach this situation because clearly this is a very sensitive spot for Nancy. In an edit, I want to add that Nancy complained that her poem didn't get as good of a reception as Kate's song. Kate didn't study music in college but practices on the side, and her text was really thankful for the opportunity that the talent show provided. Kate is also engaged to her longtime boyfriend. Now essentially the comments are both helpful and useless, encouraging the OP to take their dad's advice, but also just keep trying to hammer into Nancy that she needs to see someone about this. So 2 weeks later, we get an update, and how do you think it's going trying to move an immovable object? So it's been a little over 2 weeks since my first post, and I've had some time to try and process. A lot of it still feels surreal, having known her since my early 20s and the 180 after the wedding. I want to address a few things that were asked in my first post before getting to the update. Now, Nancy and Kate were not the only ones who performed in the talent show. During planning, Nancy said she wanted to showcase her friends and how awesome and proud she was to have them. Oh, the irony. She also said that it was a bonding thing between her girlfriends from our friend group, and the girls were the ones who performed. However, given her post-reception 180, really surprised me in comparison to her pre-talent show mindset. A few people commented that she didn't need to have a talent show to read the poem she made for the wedding. She could have just read it at any time as the bride. That's so true. Makes you wonder if it was about expressing her creativity or comparing how creative she is compared to her friends. I'm picking up vibes of the kind of woman who encourages body positivity, not because they think you should be comfortable in how you look, but so that you don't seem to be as much of a competition for her. The reason I'm writing this post is because of something else that came up and led to a conversation. So we had a vacation coming up, but now she no longer wants to go on it. In the time since my first post 2 weeks ago, she's continued to have random mood swings due to thinking about Kate. Sometimes that's venting about how Kate would have nothing without me, or getting really quiet and distant, even while eating. She's also still upset at her girlfriends who she vented to about Kate, but when they disagreed and called her out for being bitter over a talent show no one forced her to have, she told me to cut off our friend group along with blocking the producer and girlfriends too. Now when I disagreed, she became distant and said I was choosing them over me. He also brings up again that Dad suggested going to a counselor, etc. But Nancy still seems to put her foot down, thinking that all he needs to do as a loving husband is just to isolate himself from every single friend. When I asked her why Kate bothered her so much, she said she tried to publish in the past a novel, and I didn't get any hand-me-downs then. Just a note, he later clarifies that this is what he meant to say handouts. As in Nancy is arguing that, well, Kate hasn't given her any handouts, so why should have Nancy? But when I remind her that my friend was a producer on the side in his basement, she said, well, you should have known better than to invite him. As if I should have known he would have liked Kate's song. When I told her that I wouldn't block the producer or entire friend group, she said that I was entitled like Kate, and that she wanted a break because I didn't care about her. I told her I love her, but I didn't think it was healthy to cut off everyone. I also told her that she should be happy for her friend because Kate was really grateful, but she didn't seem to care. She has since gone to stay with her parents and left some of her things in our apartment. I talked to my dad after she ignored texts and calls for a few days, and he suggested bringing up an annulment because it had gone too far. Her parents have also ignored my calls, but I want to clarify Kate's text before I'm done. Kate wasn't arrogant or anything to Nancy. All she did was thank her for putting together the talent show that allowed her to network with the producer after the wedding, and she also offered to take her out to lunch as thanks. There was no arrogance from Kate, and the producer is also engaged, as some people inquired about too. I'm just really surprised and hurt that her bitterness turned me into a bad guy for inviting my producer friend, as if I was supposed to see into the future and not invite him. Another edit. Nancy got the idea to make a poem for the reception after watching the poet Amanda Gorman read her works at the inauguration and Super Bowl. She also said that it wasn't out of place for her to read at the reception when most people watching football aren't smart enough to appreciate poetry. It's also later noted that OP, as well as their friends, are fans of football. So, really makes you wonder what Nancy thinks about all her friends. So this is a grade A example of comparison being the thief of joy. But oh, you just wait till later on as to realizing how unnecessarily extrapolated Nancy has made this issue. So they return 2 months later, and I just wanted to come back to conclude this because it's been helpful to hear opinions and get everything out. We are currently in the process of a divorce. She's staying with her parents, and I've had some time to process and see things differently. I want to touch on 2 things that's happened since my update. The first is a Facebook post she made about me and the guests. In her post, she said she was supposed to win, and that it was an unwritten rule for the bride to win, as if wedding talent shows are normal. She also accused them of smiting me on my day when no one knew about the show beforehand except her participating friends. She then accused me of taking Kate's side instead of comforting her as her new husband, but taking her side meant cutting off our friend group as she had in the aftermath. I don't know how her parents feel after she called out both sides of the guests, but I really don't care at this point. She also wanted me to cut off my producer friend Edward, who approached Kate after she sang her original song and asked if they wanted to collab sometime, and I want to focus on that. Up until now, you probably perceived that this producer man is someone, oh, he must be pretty legit, he's got a pretty good business going, right? Well, so I talked to Edward recently about everything, including how she wanted me to cut him off, and he couldn't believe how much it affected her. Nancy and I watched a football game at his house with him and his fiance some months back, and he has a day job in an office. When I told him about how Nancy was jealous of Kate's big break, he couldn't believe it and said that he planned to let Kate use his audio interface to plug into her guitar and record a high-quality instrumental of her song along with his microphone too. He also said he wasn't great at mixing and was taking online courses to learn. So he was gonna suggest that she just commission someone to mix and enhance the files they'd record because he was far from a professional. He's a really chill guy, but he couldn't stop laughing over how Nancy thought that he was all that. He only wanted to use his interface to give her a high-quality recording after learning that she didn't have equipment and recorded her original on her phone. He and his fiance planned to have her for dinner, just like they had me and Nancy over for football, and recorded in the basement afterwards. So yeah, looking back in hindsight, it's crazy how you can be blinded to things, but I never imagined just how crazy she could get. I didn't say this in my first two posts because I thought it might overshadow her actions, but she sometimes posts about women empowerment on her socials, and I recently thought about that for one reason. When I asked her why she wanted to have a talent show, she said she wanted to
Emphasize the importance of having good friends
because they were
important to a relationship.
But as I look at it now, perhaps it was never about that. Nancy was bothered the second that Kate's song got a better reception than her, and she doubled down when she vented to two of her girlfriends after the wedding who called her out for being jealous, and that made her demand I also cut off our friend group. To everyone who asked what her poem was about, it was about women empowerment and the importance of having good friends and family when starting a family, and she told me the premise beforehand, although she never showed me the poem. She wanted it to be a surprise, but I never had a chance to see it on paper after the wedding for reasons. Many people also corrected how she said that Kate received a hand-me-down opportunity at the wedding, but the proper term was handout, as many corrected. I really appreciate everyone who offered advice as it helped a lot mentally, but not to mention looking back on how crazy it all was. Just hoping to fully get over it as time goes on, but I've gotten over some of it recently. Yeah, that's the kicker to all this. This divorce happened over a friend who isn't even a producer. He's just some equipment that Kate can use. Way to go, Nancy. Your envy and ego just ruined everything for no reason. Like, as OP went on, Nancy assumed that Kate had signed up with someone like Jay-Z and so was upset that, oh, well, no one gave me a break when I tried to publish a novel, so what does Kate get one? And you'd think it all ends there, but nope. Opie returns once more in July, because clearly Nancy hasn't gotten over this. 6 months later. I really thought my last update would be my last, but Nancy apparently had other ideas. This update doesn't really involve me, and is mostly for those who have reached out via DMs, because I can't reply to all of them, so this is more convenient. Months later, I'm grateful that everything came out when it did, and we are officially no longer together. She wanted to do nothing with me after accusing me of taking Kate's side by refusing to cut off friends who said she overreacted when she vented about Kate stealing her thunder by getting a better reception for her song, among other hateful things she said about her, and that made the process easier. However, months later, Nancy's still not over it, but I want to give an update on Kate first. Kate reached out to me towards the end of the divorce process because Nancy took out her frustration on her, and she told me some things I didn't know. I mentioned in my first update that Kate sent a text thanking Nancy for the opportunity to sing at the wedding after it led to her meeting the producer, and she sent shortly after the reception. However, unbeknownst to me, Nancy sent her DMs blaming her for the divorce before it was official, and that was news to me. She told me she was sorry for performing at the wedding along with the divorce, but I told her that she had nothing to apologize for. Her best friend, Nancy, asked her to perform, and she simply did, but Nancy didn't stop at DMs. Since my last update, and the divorce becoming official, Nancy went online to make her feelings public, not just about Kate. The friends who said she was overreacting overreacting too. She said that her friends should have talked me out of the talent show because friends look after each other. When the talent show was her idea entirely, that she pushed for ages against suggestions otherwise. She accused them of being fake friends who never had her back and sided with Kate over her. Wow, it's almost as if those friends were looking out for Kate. Ooh. And she even had the nerve to tag them in the post too. However, she left the worst for Kate. She accused Kate and her friends of setting her up on her day, and she made a separate Facebook post to rant about Kate. She also called her a bitch, among other things, but she also disclosed some mental health challenges and medications from Kate's past, and it was petty and very inappropriate. I want to reiterate that Kate was her best friend long before me, but she also disclosed a very personal event that I never knew about from Kate's life, which was wrong. And it led to people finding out that Kate hadn't told people that, and it caused her a lot of stress from what I've heard. Now, some of the people in Nancy's friend group reached out to me before the divorce too. One of them we'll call Hannah, who knew Nancy before me as well. She said that she knew about Nancy's struggles to publish as she vented years back after I told her about my talk with Nancy where she brought up her publishing struggles, and she said that many of them tried to encourage her. However, she never saw that jealous side of her despite knowing her for much longer. And she thinks it was the culmination of wedding stress among other things, but she didn't want to chalk it up to just that because she said that was a deeper insecurity. She also told me not to beat myself up too much because her friend group never saw that side of her too, and they knew her for years before me. Nancy's friend group has since cut her off. But the last thing I'll say is on Kate. Kate and her friends have been really supportive and even apologized for not talking her out of the talent show beforehand. But I told them that they had nothing to apologize for because Nancy accused me of inviting my producer friend and not magically knowing that he would have networked with Kate. Hannah said that Kate's been really hurt about the sensitive posts and having to explain to people she never told. She also said that Kate's thinking of trying to go after Nancy legally, but she's not sure if anything can be done since it was on Facebook, now deleted. Although she got screenshots, but it's apparently taken a toll on her mental health to the point that she's trying to see her options. I won't come back to this again because it doesn't really involve me at this point, but I'm trying my best to be supportive of her too because she didn't deserve any of this. But I hope it all works out for her in the time, whether she decides to pursue legally or not. So to summarize Nancy's arguments over her friends needing to be there for her,
I shouldn't be allowed to do things without adult supervision.
that sure is a bold defense. Oh, God knows she would have just said,
Shut up. It's my wedding, and if I want a talent show, we're having one.
And props to the milkman hath come for this eloquent analysis of Nancy. In Nancy's mind, because something good happened to her friend, Nancy lost. I don't know what she expected. Poetry is only appreciated by lovers and fans of already famous people. As far as I can tell, this is a culmination of her own self-importance. People don't understand poetry after all, according to Nancy. Wedding stress, hidden mental disorders, and the impact of major life changes all hitting at just the right time make her revert to an 11-year-old child. Hopefully there's a good ending where Kate gets a court win and an honest apology in a couple years, and OP moves on with more keen eyes for red flags is what's coming for them. Oh, also Nancy getting into regular therapy because that's like the bare minimum she needs at the moment. Overall, a very comforting tale, where even if you think you know someone for years and years, turns out you maybe don't. I bet that gives comfort to a lot of engaged couples out there.